We welcome you to Coaching Life. My name is Chris. In case you're here for the first time listening, my name is Chris Stewart, and I have a very good friend that we sit down together once a week and have a conversation about coaching, about parenting, about playing games, about just about life in general. We actually been sitting here talking for a long time before we turned on the microphone, so we thought we'd go ahead and turn them on and keep talking. So sitting right across from me is my good buddy Pat Martin. How are you, Pat?
Good, man. How are you doing?
Good. Well, I'm glad to hear your voice actually sounds pretty good right there. I said, Pat's gotten hit with some negativity today. Haven't you?
Last night.
It's easy to let it get you. Stuff, it's stuff that happens in the world, and no one's immune to it.
Yeah. Actually, yeah. It's all about your response, right?
Always.
I think I'm being reminded of that fact quite often as of late. So it's been good practice, I guess, to handle real things in life when they come your way. So,
yeah, we've got kids all around really around the country, I would guess. But I mean, everybody lives in your own little community, and so you really only kind of see what's happening in your community, and so you kind of assume that it's happening the same way everywhere else. The coronavirus, COVID-19, whichever variant we're dealing with, hasn't gone away, and people continue to get tested for it, which means that they're showing up positive, and then the people that show up positive then have to, of course, stay isolated from people for a period of time until they recover if they're sick, or test negative if they're not sick.
Right.
Which is all an interesting thing anyway in and of itself. But then you also have individuals who may have had a conversation with that person,
right?
And they get told. Well, I was going to say to get told by the health department, but apparently that's not even the case. Sometimes
I think it depends on where you're at.
It's like we've heard stories of people saying, "Well, I tested positive, and so I sat beside you, at lunch, and so you should probably." Isolate. And people are choosing to do that just on their own, like not go to work and stuff. And I don't know if they're not getting paid or
right. Exactly. And how does that communication work? Well,
yeah. Who's running this show?
It's like the old. I have a friend of a friend whose cousin's brother's roommate's sister. Stories that you roll your eyes when people tell it, but
right. I had that happen here. I had one of our students that works for our ambassador team. Tested positive, and she said, "Hey, I just want to let you know." I'm like, "Okay." Like, I think she was wanting me to tell all the other ambassadors that they had to stay home or whatever. I'm like, "Well, that's not my role. That's above my purview. That's not what I do. I mean, I appreciate it, and I hope you get well. Stay home. Eat some chicken soup, get well, and whoever gave you the positive test, I'm assuming is going to give it to the right authority that's supposed to tell the people that you were in contact with to stay home, but I'm not doing it."
Yeah.
I'm getting fired up. I'm not doing it. That's not my job.
Well, I tell you, I think, oh boy, that's one of the big headaches with this. Well, not to downplay the virus and people getting sick and
certainly
and
not
dying,
absolutely
in
not
any way, but there's just the inconsistency in the approach that we've had from day one through whatever day it is now that we're in it is just, and people out there want to know why, there's people that don't understand or people that don't want to abide by suggestions or recommendations. It's because they're so confusing. And when there's confusion, there's distrust.
Yeah.
And, no one really knows what to do. We have school systems going by different rules. We have states going by different rules. We have health departments within states going by different rules. It seems like, and then you got the CDC who has recommendations. The state health departments have recommendations. World Health Organizations has recommendations. Dr. Fauci has his own recommendation. There's these, and it's just hard. There's all this information. It's just like baseball, or we've talked about before, like a instructor. You're looking for
Sure.
instruction or
Yeah.
how to do something on the internet. You can find almost anything you want out there.
You can, yeah.
It's hard to
true.
determine which one is the truth or not. And
Yeah.
that's why we started this podcast, right? To kind of give the people that aren't used to going out and doing a lot of research and figuring out on their own what makes the most sense from a sports perspective. We can kind of give them that resource and say, here's some stuff that we believe in. Here's some, this guy's really good. This lady's really good.
Yeah. Well, man, something you just said there just gave me it reminded me of something I heard recently, and it was just a really short clip of a comedian that I absolutely love, Dave Chappelle. And Dave Chappelle is more than a comedian. He's a very wise man. He really is. You can listen to, he started out, when he was young, it was just all, crude jokes and things like that. But he still had a little hint of, he taught you. He taught lessons. He broke down barriers.
Yeah. He doesn't pull punches either.
In his jokes. No, he doesn't.
Yeah.
He doesn't. And Chris Rock was really good at this kind of thing too. Kind of political humor as well. But Dave Chappelle was he was giving a commencement speech for a university in, I believe it may have been in Maryland. And it was just about a 1-minute segment of his speech. And he said that one of the biggest downfalls of our society today is that we have all just embraced that it's okay to live with better and worse. Like all that we are concerned about is, well, what's better? Or, well, at least I'm not, or at least that's worse than I am. You're worse than I am, or, well, that's better. At least I'm a little better than you. And he said that's the problem. He said we operate these days on better and worse. And he said, whatever happened to right and wrong?
Yeah.
There is. He said there is a right and there is a wrong. There is good and there is bad. But he said we don't know that today. All we know is better and worse. Well, we've got a topic that we have brought up a number of times over the years that we've done this podcast. I say the years, right? We're 3 months into this 3 years into this podcast.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've been talking for years. You and I have, and there's a topic that we believe needs to be brought up, on a rotating basis.
Yeah, sure.
Because it's so vitally important, and it is the topic of helping athletes to get stronger, and not just helping them get stronger, but helping them to understand the reason why they need to get stronger and believe in it, buy into it, and then develop programs for them to help them do it. And that's a topic that is, it's fresh in my mind right now because we just began our off-season strength training for athletes at where I'm coaching, and these are primarily baseball athletes. But because it's such a small school, a lot of these kids are training for other sports that they play as well.
Yes.
They're 3-sport athletes, and so it's not just for baseball. So we had to keep that in mind when we train them as well. What do we want to do? We don't do sport-specific training. We're just not going to. We're going to help them get stronger. That's just basically what we've decided to do.
That'll work.
You've got it. It will absolutely.
That's
work.
specific to every sport.
It is. It is, and it's sports. I mean, there are sport. I mean, there might be a few sports. I'm willing to go out and say, you know what? In every sport, athletes will get better by getting stronger.
Yes.
I mean, like people might be like, well, what about distance events, right? Like distance running, things like. Do you really want them to get in the weight room? I don't know. I mean, I'm not I'm not an expert in any of this, but I would say that there may be a few sports that, like the distance type sports where endurance training is probably the main concern there.
Yeah.
But I would still say, though, for all sports, strength training is of some benefit, at least on some level, right?
As a long distance runner, ever
Had a stress fracture
or damage their ACL, right?
Yeah.
And we know that
Yeah.
there's Olympic lifts that strengthen those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, there's I think that's one of the things that I'm thinking of right now because we talked about last week. My son broke his collarbone, and
Yeah.
he's basically doing nothing right now. As much as I can get him to nothing, this wooden table was the same substance that's in his noggin, I think. But he won't stop moving that thing. But actually, I went in the other day.
He's supposed to be doing nothing right now, right?
As little as possible
To get it to heal. Yeah.
Yeah, and after the football game the other night, he was out there on the field cleaning up
Yeah.
equipment and stuff, and the players were coming off the field saying, "Hey, you need to go get your boy. He won't sit down." It's ridiculous, but I went in and gave him a hug the other day, and actually forgot that he was in a sling, wrapped my arms around
Squeezed
him. So, yeah, I guess it's not all his fault, but he's not doing anything right now. He's not getting much of any type of exercise at all because he's trying to be careful with that arm, and he probably won't for the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So we've already been talking about getting back in the weight room as soon as we're able to, and in my mind it's one, to get back to where he was, but two, for health reasons, to keep him from getting injured when he goes back and starts playing basketball again. That's a huge reason you want to. And you talk about kids playing other sports, football. When you're lifting during a sport, your focus kind of changes a little bit into how you want to go about your lift, and you lift, like people will say, don't lift during
in the volume. I would say you got to change your volume and your
but they'll say don't lift during a season because you don't want to risk getting hurt. You don't want to risk getting tight. However,
you have to lift during a season
because it helps. It prevents injury, right?
Yeah.
Keeps you 100%, prevents you from getting injured. Well, things like that. I think that's something people need to hear.
Yes, you work too hard to build strength in off season. Muscle atrophies. It atrophies quick.
And
does. So I think we make the mistake of thinking that playing our sport or running around and because I'm active, I'm maintaining the strength that I built, right?
Yep.
And that's just absolutely not that's just not true. It's just not the case. I actually found, I was reading an article not long ago. I think it was for one of our previous podcasts that we did. It was last week's, maybe actually. It was by Mark Ripto, who is the inventor of the Starting Strength program, which is, I think it's probably, I believe, and other strength people I've heard say this as well, believe it is the best foundational strength program that you'll ever find, because that's all that it's about: building strength, getting stronger. And what does it take to get stronger? And he bases it on basically 5 fundamental lifts, compound lifts, Olympic lifts of the squat, deadlift, bench press, overhead press, and then a row until you're able to power clean. He recommends power cleans for younger athletes, and as you get older and you don't need to be explosive and athletic anymore, you can substitute that with I do rows now. I don't do power cleans.
Yeah.
I don't have anything. I could and should do power cleans. Until I'm 55, 65, 85 years old, however long I live. But I just choose to do the others.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
But I want to see if I can find something that he said in a paragraph in that article that was really, really powerful. I thought I really enjoyed it.
As you're looking there, I just point out that I like the 5x5 program because it's easy. When I first started learning about strength training, I was confused and didn't know what to do. And the 5x5 program is pretty straightforward. There's an app out there. It's not even made by It's not sponsored by Ripto, but
No, it's called Strong Lift.
It's called Strong
But it
Lift.
uses that. Yeah.
You keep track of everything for you.
It's a really good app
And
for that.
the only thing you really have to do is remember what you left off. Your
Sure.
your last weight, and then you just keep adding. It's pretty.
Yeah, because the one of the main principles of this program is that you increase the weight that you lift every time that you come back to the weight room. So it's an every other day program. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday program. So you rest on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday, and you could do some things on Saturday and Sunday. He recommends some cardio and things like that. But for the most part, it's do this because your body needs the rest because you're squatting all those days, and so the idea is you're supposed to increase weight every time, increase the weight that you're lifting, your resistance every time you come in, unless you're not able to get 5 reps every set of 5. If you're not able to get 5 sets of full 5 reps. If you're not able to get that, then you basically stay on that weight until you can increase it. But anyway, I found this. It's fun. It's really good. He says basically you're not as strong as you could be if you have never engaged in a program of barbell strength training that requires a regular incremental increase in the weight. That's what we're talking about. He said only an increasingly heavy barbell exercise that uses lots of muscles to operate lots of joints in normal human movement patterns while balancing both the load and the body and performed as frequently as is necessary to make the weight go up can directly challenge the ability to produce increasing amounts of force in the context of total human physical function. That's a long sentence. But I mean, he defines strength as the ability to produce muscular force against an external resistance. And he says, so if you think about that, if you take it down, strength is the ability to produce that. And so the stronger you are, the more force that you can produce against an external resistance. So he said, that is helpful for all of us, whether we play a sport or not, but especially if you're playing a sport. I mean, just literally one-on-one, if you're a lineman and you're putting force against another guy, then the guy who is stronger is going to he's going to put more force. How is that important for a baseball player? Are you ever putting external force, muscular force up against an external resistance? Heck yeah, you are.
Absolutely.
You're grabbing a baseball and throwing it.
Yep.
You got a bat in your hand, you're swinging it. You're trying to hit an external resistance, an external force. You're putting external, muscular force into an external resistance, which is the ball coming to the bat. I mean, there is every sport that we play. That's what sports are based on. Those external resistances, and we've got to be able to put force against them. And the people who are stronger are going to do better at that. So he said, he just completely argues for getting strong, and he says this, and this is the paragraph that I love. He says, this means we're gonna get some, but wait, and we'll have to probably talk about this a little bit. He says, this means that kettlebells, kickboxing, playing with the dumbbells, Pilates, yoga, bicycling, jogging, running, swimming, shuffleboard, gardening, balancing on a colorful ball while waving chrome weights in the air, treadmilling, elliptical machining, stair climbing, rock climbing, wood chopping, loading hay on a trailer, snow shoveling, air squatting, push-upping, chin-upping, grave digging, or stealing millions of dollars of gold bullion from the floor of a bank behind the enemy lines is not strength training.
Wow, I've never heard that before. I didn't realize he had a strong opinion about that.
He said it may be hard, and you may get tired doing it, and it may even make you sore, but it's not strength training because it cannot make you stronger.
Yeah.
So you may have built a lot of strength in the off season, and then you get into your sport and you assume that, well, because we're out here working hard, we're hitting each other, we're pushing back and forth, we're playing football, I can't imagine not continuing to lift. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're doing that stuff. You're not getting stronger, which means you're getting weaker.
Yeah. Which means
you're allowing your body to get weaker.
Yeah.
And, so he says, this stuff may be hard. All these things that he lists, he said they may be hard, and you might get tired of doing them, and they may make you sore, but it's not strength training because it's not making you stronger. He says some of these things may require strength, but doing them cannot possibly develop strength since, number one, none of them are limited by your absolute strength. And number two, they do not require constantly increasing force production. So the only way to build strength is to constantly increase that force production, increase that weight, increase that resistance, and then put more force into greater weight and greater resistance. He says, unless you're doing that on a consistent basis, you're not building strength. So this is the reason why you got to keep lifting in season. You got to keep doing it. You got to keep doing what you've worked so hard to develop to be good at that sport.
Yeah.
Just because you started your sport doesn't mean that you don't have the possibility of getting worse at it.
Yeah. And the immediate response to that is usually, well, you don't want your muscles getting too tight. You don't want to get injured. You don't want to be tired, right? For your games, things like that. And you could say those are valid, but so
right,
plan it, right? How do you work around that? What do you need to do?
And I honestly think that's you stretch.
Yeah.
I mean, you stay mobile. I mean, you're playing your sport, so you're doing your mobility work, right? And you just keep doing mobility work as well. But I think a lot of those things are false. I think they're myths.
Yeah. Well,
I think we assume that you're going to be tighter because you're strength training in season.
Yeah.
Well, why aren't you tighter because you're playing your sport? I mean, I think you get tighter by sitting on the couch. I mean, there's a lot of things that can make you tighter, right? I mean,
that's a great example. That goes back to the old argument of, kids shouldn't go swimming before games.
Yeah, I remember that.
What's the alternative?
We had that rule when I was a kid.
The alternative is we want you just laying around on the couch all day in the air conditioning.
And then come out in 98-degree heat right before it's time to play.
right.
Oh, yeah.
We've thought about that a lot, too.
Yeah.
Like, wait a second.
I would rather, yeah.
Let them be kids a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, I mean, let's look at our professional teams. Look at our our Division I college, Division II college programs.
Yeah.
All of our college programs.
All of them. Yeah.
What are they doing on game days? What are they doing, when they practice? I mean, that's part of their practice day. That's part of their schedule on a daily basis of before practice or after practice, they find time to get into the gym.
Yeah.
So why are they doing that? Are they risking it? And why are they, if they are, why are they risking it? There's value in it. We talked about Michigan, the Michigan baseball team being in the weight range. They kind of are contradicting a little bit the idea of adjusting your volume because they were absolutely
they were still getting
out
of it and getting at it. Yeah. I think they were down. Like if you do say you do a 5 sets of 5 strength program in the off season, I think in the in season they were doing 3 sets of 3 or something like that.
Yeah.
They weren't doing as much, but they were still at least able to at minimum maintain the strength that they had built.
Yeah,
right.
I think that brings up a good point because we've talked about this too before. If you work out in the morning, by the time the afternoon rolls around, you feel amazing.
Yeah,
you're not tired.
No,
right. It doesn't wear you out. You feel great. Now, I'm wondering. Because if you lift and you're increasing, you get sore. So with like your football player, I know you have some football players coming to work out in the mornings.
They're not anymore.
Oh, they're not.
Yeah, they're not allowed. I didn't know. I'd sent them word out to all the coaches inviting, anybody that wanted to come, and they could come if they were permitted to by their coaching staff, but they're not. There's a school rule. It's not an OHSA rule. There's a school rule that if a student's playing another sport, they don't want them working out with another entity or whatever.
I say, but hypothetically, then.
But I mean, if you're working out with your sport, you shouldn't be working out twice anyway.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
that's a good point. So in theory, they're working out with the football players or with the football.
In theory,
program.
That's what's happening, right?
Right. Yeah. Although that's not.
I don't think they are. I've been told that they haven't been, but I don't know. I mean,
But my point is, how would you?
I can tell you this: we're going to. So,
yeah, you had to get that established, didn't you?
Right. I
think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
But how would you adjust for a football player, would you say on game day, would they lift the same as they would? You talk about reducing volume because they're in season. Would they still lift the same because it's a reduced volume, or would they lift differently the day before a game as opposed to the day of a game? Because if you're lifting, a lot of times you get sore the day after, or 2 days after, and you don't want that impact to hit you as you're going out. And that's an argument that I've heard people give, that we don't want them to lift this day or that day before a game because of this. And then that provides some additional challenges for like basketball season because you're playing multiple times a week. So it's harder to schedule around that.
I like the idea of lifting after the game.
Oh.
Right after. I mean, I know a lot of baseball players come into the clubhouse after a game, and they lift after the game. I mean, baseball is a great example of it because you're playing. You talk about playing more games during a week. Basketball, you play 2. Baseball, you're playing almost every day.
Yeah.
If you're not going to lift on game day, when are you going to lift? Once a week?
Right.
Right. Man, I got to pee.
I'll be right back.
All right, sorry to interrupt the stream of thought there, but if I hadn't done so,
we're gonna edit that out.
There was going to be a stream running down my leg and onto the floor if I
can't remember where we left
drinking
off.
so much water. I'm starting a fast today because I got fat over the summer. I got out of shape.
We're talking about
it's a
this.
very relevant topic, for myself. You feel bad when you go in and you train kids. They're getting up early in the morning. They're throwing these weights around. They're working hard, and I'm like, look at me. I'm out of shape right now.
Yeah.
So I got way too relaxed in the summer.
I give some people a hard time about not making it to the gym. They're like, I'm going to go to the gym tonight, and then they don't make it. And I'm like, oh, you're going to go to the gym, were you? Give them a hard time, and then I'm like, when's the last time you've been in the gym?
Right. Yeah, that's
slobbo.
That's a hard one to. It's a hard one to bash people.
I will say this, Coach. I was cleaning out my garage this weekend, and I looked over, and I saw my squat rack, and I thought, I'm going to get back to
dust that thing off.
It does have a lot of. That's the thing that caught my eye. My bench. My. Okay, that's what it is. The bench. The what you lay on.
Yeah.
Covered in dust.
I forgot what it was called.
Well, I don't. I don't bench much, but covered in dust. And I was like, man, that thing is looking bad.
We're using it to hold stuff up right now.
Yes. Yeah. Or just keep it out of the way of the car when I get in. But no, that's I guess going back to my son, it's something we're kind of looking forward to. And actually, Jeremiah has been asking me to go out and to get him working out. So he likes to go out there and play. He will for a couple weeks, and then he'll get tired.
Yeah, and and Ripto talks about that too. He says 2 things. One, he says it's never too early to begin training, but he says 2, why are we training? Why are we getting kids in a training routine unless they really want to?
Yeah.
He said, like, if your kids are young, they teach them how to throw mud balls and go out and run and play and sleigh ride and stuff like that. But if they come to you and they're like, hey, I want to do what you're doing, Dad. I want to lift. Well, let them lift. Teach them proper form. Teach them with the body weight exercises until they're able to get under a load. And if they're able to get under a very small, light load that they can handle, then let them do it.
Yeah. Well, I tell you one thing that I like to incorporate into it, because Maya's 11, he doesn't lift heavy weight, but we do a lot of jumping and sprinting, and just different side jumps.
Jumping is phenomenal. Yes.
Jumping off of things, landing. Yes. And I picked that up.
Micaiah
from Micaiah Branch, which was one of our guests that we had on. A year or so.
In fact, we need to recommend people go back and listen to that. So I'll find exactly what episode
That's
that
a good
is.
Point. Yeah, just go here because he dropped some amazing information in that. But Mackay, Zach Deckant.
Brock's doing a lot of that right now at AB.
Really?
He said they're doing a lot of Zach Deckant's material right now. And he's leading that stuff at AB right now. Yeah,
I really like Zach Deckant. I tell you what I like about Zach more than anything is because he's obviously selling a product. He's got really good support, And you can email them and ask them questions about things like, "Am I doing this program right?" And they'll be able to answer you and tell you, "Yeah." And they're quick. They're quick about it too. Actually, you know what? I emailed Zach one time and asked him if he would come on the podcast, and he said, "Yeah, just let me know."
Oh, you did get a response.
Yeah.
Well, we need to do that.
I'll have to reach out to him.
Yeah,
it'd be good.
Micaiah Branch was on episode 47, and that was back in March of 2020, so March 30th of 2020. So episode 47, you can find Micaiah Branch talking about building strength with less resources was how we went about that. Specifically talking with people during a time when they were starting to have to stay isolated.
That's
and they're
right.
like, well, I don't have anything to lift with.
He was doing instruction through the iPads.
Yeah. So if you want to at least do something, and you don't have all the resources, that's an excellent resource that we've provided you there through Micaiah. But yeah, I think the whole point here is getting stronger is going to be better regardless of who you are, regardless of what you're doing. I mean, even like at my age, and I'm almost ready to turn 49 years old here this month. I got a birthday this month. And I can think of 1,000 reasons right now why I don't want to stop trying to get stronger as someone who's not playing any sports, but just it's better for you, right? Stronger is better, and stronger people are hard. Well, here let's just be really honest. Stronger people are harder to kill.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not talking about hand-to-hand combat. I'm talking about get stronger. You're going to live better.
Physically,
you're going to live better. Yeah.
And mentally.
Yes. Yeah. Stronger people are generally more useful physically. You can't deny that. Can't argue against that, right? And I know that it's not as clear. That's an easy. To convince me of that, to you and me as an adult we don't play sports and we don't have. We realize, I could do a lot more if I'm stronger. I realize I could do that.
But why?
But you look at a 14-year-old, like you look at your son Jake, and you say, hey. Or even Jeremiah, and you say, hey, it's the same thing. It's not always as clear to them, right? Because I think to kids, and to kids and young coaches, people who are coaching a particular sport, I think domains of fitness or specific fitness is just as important to them. How can I get better at doing this?
Yes.
Right? Like for me, I'm just like generally thinking, if I just get stronger, I'll do everything better.
Right? I felt
But
that
for kids, it's more like, I want to play baseball better, or I want to play basketball better, or I want to be,
It's not just for kids, it's for their parents as well.
And I think what happens is we allow that mindset to dominate us when it comes to, well, what kind of fitness should my kid be doing? And I guess what I'm saying is, you can really simplify it for them too, because if they just get stronger, they're going to be better at whatever they do.
Yep. Take your kid. If you're trying to convince a 10-year-old that stronger is better, take them to a 10U baseball game and have them point out the best player on the field.
Yes, and they're going to point to the strongest kid.
Yeah, strongest, fastest.
They're not going to say
explosive,
that.
right?
They won't know what they're pointing out. But what they're essentially pointing out is the strongest, the most explosive, powerful-looking kid out there.
Yep.
And when you boil it down, why did they point at him? Because he's the strongest.
Yeah, and I think that's a key point for, because we have a lot of kids out there that are playing a bunch of games, different sports, and obviously, they're getting better because they're getting more practice, but they're seeing personal instructors, and I'm not going to try to take your business away from you, Coach. Sure. I know you work with kids too. Yeah, you do a really good job. Actually, we played against a young man that you worked with over the winter there, and he actually throws really well. So, but
good deal.
I think it's easy to get caught up in that. We got to skill work. We got to swing. We got to shoot. We got to do these tasks, these sport specific tasks over and over and over again. And it's to get better at all those tasks. It really is just as simple as getting faster and stronger.
Yeah.
If you're strong, like we mentioned earlier, if you're doing squats, your legs are getting stronger. It makes you faster. It makes you a faster runner. Makes you a more explosive runner. Right?
And you know what? You're going to weigh more.
Yeah.
but you're still going to run faster.
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you do.
And you're going to look better. That's how I had to convince the girls that I was training at Athens. I said, don't let the scale be your guide. I mean, yeah, you get on the scales. That's fine. But some of you who are already thin, right? You're coming into this and you're thin. You're going to gain weight. I told them right up front, you're going to gain weight, but you're going to feel better. You're going to look better to majority of people when if you want to look good, you're going to look better.
Yeah.
But you're going to gain more. You're going to weigh more. And and what's funny is like, I love the culture. I mean, our culture has shifted in a lot of ways where girls don't care about that nearly as much as they used to.
Yeah.
They really don't. And that's good. I think it's a healthy thing.
Good deal.
It's without a doubt a healthy thing. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure it is. Right. Yeah. Something people always have said is, talk about natural talent. And I think there is a blurred line there. Because when you talk about natural talent, that's what you're talking about, strength. You're talking about speed. And, it's almost been like an excuse, well, I just don't have the natural ability to do that. Or, that person just has that natural ability where they're so good at that sport that they play. They're just naturally good at it. Typically when people are saying that, that's what they're saying is they're bigger, they're stronger, and they're faster when they're playing that sport.
That's exactly
just why
right.
they're better. So it's so easy to overlook, and I would encourage anyone that wants to debate that concept or that belief that if you are the fastest, strongest kid on a field or player on a court, it's LeBron James.
Sure.
LeBron James can play every position on the floor. And he's got natural, he's a tall guy, but he's in the gym all the time.
Oh yeah.
Right. He's working on his agility all the time, and he's still doing it to this day. And, obviously he's doing it for a reason.
Right. Right.
So it's something that I hope that, because I've been talking, it seems like it's coming up more and more. People are asking, who should I take my kid to see to hit with, to help their hitting? Who should I take my kid with, go see for their pitching, or, how about shooting basketball, or whatever it is. And I find myself more and more saying, well, what you should probably do is look into some strength training.
Take them to strength training.
You're going to get, the dividends that you're going to get back from that is probably going to be better. And it's probably easier to do, less expensive, and you probably spend less time over the course of the child's career, so to speak,
doing the other stuff.
Doing the other stuff, yeah.
That's actually a point that speaking of Mark Ripto, that's a point that he has made. And I wish I could find exactly where he said it. He actually may have said it in the Starting Strength book, the original book that came out, the OG Starting Strength, the big workbook looking thing. He actually made a statement that he would encourage, if someone came to him and said, what can I do to be the best fill in the blank player, basketball player, football player, baseball player, lacrosse player, whatever sport your sport is, what can I do to make sure that I'm the best baseball player, since that's the sport you and I love, my junior and senior year of high school that I could possibly be. And he said, I have actually told kids, don't play your sophomore year.
Right.
He's like, that's, you're about 14, 15 years old. It's a prime time for your body to develop strength. And he said, they'll look at me funny, like, are you kidding me? I can't take a year off and hope to be great. And listen, I don't recommend this particular method, but I hear what he's saying. But his point is, you take a year off from playing and you devote it. You devote every bit of that year. Every day, which includes your active lifting days and your rest days. So your lifting, your rest, and your nutrition, those three things. You give it to me and you let me train you, and I'll get you stronger. I'll put you on a program that you will absolutely get stronger in that year, and then you'll have a foundation for yourself for how to continue to build strength after that. And he said, I promise you will be a better baseball player your junior and senior year than you would have been if you had spent all of that time, your freshman and sophomore year, going to personal instructors, taking reps out on the ball diamond, hitting in the cage, everything you can do. He said, I promise you. He said, I would love to do a case study where you put two different kids of similar athletic ability together, and you do that with one and not the other, and see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a scenario right now. I've got an example in my mind. We have a kid on, I guess it's still Jake's fall baseball team. He's not going to be playing, but first time he's played since he was, I think, 9 years old.
Played baseball?
Yeah. He hasn't played baseball, over that time.
Yeah.
Great athlete. Fast. Pretty strong kid. Looks good. I mean, he's rusty. He hasn't played.
Looks raw, right?
Yeah, but he's doing it. He's out there playing. He's fielding balls. He's catching, fly balls. It was kind of surprising me, but then I thought, well, it really isn't that surprising. He's an athlete.
Yeah.
Right. And if you're an athlete, you can play.
Yeah.
A sport.
Yeah.
The better athlete you are, the better you're going to be at any given sport. It's good talking to everyone.
Yes. Yeah, it was.